Hey, I'm Cameron Herold. I'm the founder of the COO Alliance, and I'm the author of 3 books, Double Double, Meetings Suck, and The Miracle Morning for Entrepreneurs. Today on Doug Barron's Leadership Show, we're going to be covering a lot of information regarding people, culture, and vision, and I'm going to be pouring out some of the best new concepts that I work with companies all over the world on, so stay tuned.
Congratulations! You are tuned into Dov Barron's Leadership and Loyalty Show, the #1 podcast for Fortune 500 executives and those who are dedicated to creating a quantum leap in leadership. Your host, Dov Barron, is the founder of FullMontyLeadership.com. He's an executive mentor to leaders like you, a contributing writer for Entrepreneur Magazine, CEO World, and he's been featured on CNN, Fox, CBS, and many other notable sites. Dov Barron is an international business speaker who was named by Inc. magazine as one of the top 100 leadership speakers to hire. Now, over to Dov Barron.
Welcome, dear friends, fans, and fellow aficionados of leadership excellence. My name is Dov Barron, and I'm here to connect you to your deep greatness. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Dov Barron's Leadership and Loyalty Tips for Executives, part of the Full Monty interview series, where today we're going to take an insider look at what 1-800-GotJunk, Joe Polish's Genius Network, and Dave Asprey's Bulletproof brand all have in common, how you can tap into it. If you're a new listener, new viewer, thank you for joining us. Strap yourself in, we're about to go full Monty. If you're a regular listener, thank you for making us the #1 podcast globally for Fortune 500 listeners. We're honored and grateful to be cited by Inc.com as the #1 podcast to make you a better leader. So thank you for sharing the show with everybody you know. We always need your help in staying relevant, so please get over to iTunes, rate, review, and subscribe to the show. All right, let's strip it down and dive right in. As a leader, whether you're a CEO, C-suite, sales leader, entrepreneur, leader in any capacity, you know that when the rubber hits the road, all the theories in the world won't matter unless you can execute. What most folks don't realize is that oftentimes the person making it happen is actually not the CEO. It's in fact the COO. Well, stay tuned because my guest today is Cameron Herold. He is known as the CEO Whisperer. His commitment is to simplify business problems, guide business leaders to previously unimagined successes. That's what he's done for hundreds of organizations, including a Big 4 wireless carrier and, would you believe, a monarchy. Cameron Herold is a highly renowned international coach, speaker, and author who brings passion and clarity from the in-the-trenches experience to businesses and entrepreneurs worldwide. He's gained his experience through building $100 million companies, including 1-800-GotJunk, with practical advice that gets businesses and business leaders growing immediately and rapidly. Cameron is featured on CNN Money, Inc., Fast Company, Business Insider, and even Time Magazine, and it was Forbes who dubbed him the CEO Whisperer. He's the author of 3 books, Double Double, Miracle Morning, and Meetings Suck. Yes, they do. Cameron cuts through the business speak, slays unproductive processes, and guides businesses to the shortest, simple path to exponential growth. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome Cameron Herold. How are you, mate?
Good, Doug. How are you? Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you here, mate. And thank you for taking the time. I know you're a busy lad, bucketing out your own basement and helping companies. So it's good to have you here.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So for those who don't know, in the simplest possible form, what is it that makes Cameron Herold tick?
Wow, what does it make me tick? I think at the end of the day, I love helping entrepreneurs and CEOs make their dreams happen. I've always kind of seen the path of least resistance, and I've watched so many companies kind of banging their head against the wall. They all seem like the fly trying to get out the window, and if they work harder, and meanwhile, like, there's a door right here, it's open, just go out the door. So I like giving them the shortcuts and the easy to implement systems and tools to grow their companies, and it's just kind of gets me going.
How did that sound for you, though? Because, I think everybody's path is not one of least resistance, initially at least.
Yeah, I was actually one of the kids who was always told that I wasn't very smart. I was very poor in school. My university transcript is laughable. It's withdrawn, FD, withdrawn, pass. Like, it was terrible. My kids laugh at it. But what I realized early on was no one was actually going to care if I got straight A's or a 4.0 or a C. No one would ever look at the transcript. And I figured out that there was always a shortcut. The answers were in the back of the textbook, or the TA knew the answers. So if I just talked to them, they'd show me what was going to be on the exam. And I figured out the path of least resistance. And I saw that in the business world as well. So I think maybe I was inherently not lazy, but I had to find a better way because I wasn't smart enough to learn it the way we were being taught. So I always learned it in a different path, a different fashion. And I've seen that in the workforce, that people work so hard when business is really easy. The only reason we even have customer service departments is our products suck, our service sucked, we've overset expectations with clients, or the FAQs on our website aren't thorough enough. Outside of that, you don't need customer service at all. But people with, we need more customer service people. No, fix our product.
Right. Fix the problem, you won't have that. Yeah, that's a really good insight. And you're absolutely right, because I think that for many of us, I've read recently that Richard Branson's IQ was in the 90s. And I'm like, yeah, I'd like to be that dumb. You can say, obviously IQ doesn't matter that much.
It used to.
Yeah.
It used to, because you had to be the smartest person in the room, because to access information was painfully slow. You had to go to a library and pull it out of a book, or you had to go meet with someone in person at a club. But now you just have to be able to know where the information is. So you have to be able to have a better network. So I've always said my network is my net worth.
Absolutely.
It's not what I know, it's who I know. It's my relationships with people to get them to solve problems for me. In the school system, it would have been called cheating. Working together as a group was cheating.
Yeah.
Now getting everyone else to do your work is actually efficient.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I don't know. I was definitely not one of the smart kids.
Well, I think that there's no doubt to me that there's a failure in the system. It's based on the Prussian schooling system, which was trained people for the industrial age, and we have post-industrial age, and that's why it's failing miserably. But I think that pushes people like us to say, that doesn't work for me, I need something else. It's cool.
Yeah.
This, as you know, is a leadership show. How would you define leadership? Because I think you have a very different view on it than most people do.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would come up with a definition, but I would explain. I was just talking to a CEO that I'd been coaching in the financial services space for a while, coaching for a couple of years. I said, you have to flip the org chart upside down. The CEO should be at the bottom, supporting the VPs, who support the managers, who support the staff, who support the customers, and you build your company inside of your core purpose and your core values, with everyone seeing the vivid vision of where your company's going. So I think leadership is about removing obstacles and coaching and supporting and really giving a shit about your employees, like truly caring about their personal fears and desires and insecurities and their obstacles and helping to remove those, versus the old style of being autocratic, dictatorial, and managing. You don't have to manage good people. Good people manage themselves. Right. You don't have to hold good people accountable. They hold themselves accountable. What you do have to do, though, is help remove their obstacles and help remove barriers and help facilitate their growth so that they can accelerate. So I think leadership is about supporting.
So that's interesting. I certainly agree with what you just said. And I'll tell you why I find it interesting, because right there in your bio is that you've worked with the monarchy. Now, that would seem to be the personification of the opposite of what you've just said.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
Well, so they're the absolute monarchs of the country of Qatar, or Qatar,
yeah.
Qatar. They own the country, and very, very simple. But they wanted to build a better culture. They wanted to be seen differently in the world press. They wanted to understand some of the practices, business practices that we use in North America to grow great businesses without having to manage and hold people accountable. They wanted to understand that, and I think they were getting tired of that whole, just hire another 100 people.
Right. It's fascinating because, we think of, as I said, we think of a monarchy as an absolute rule. And, and I know that you're about flipping that pyramid upside down. And so it's very interesting.
Yeah, one of the things that I worked with them on was really actually caring about their core values. And I said, you can't walk around saying that you want to build a great country or a great group of businesses without actually giving a shit about your people. Like, you have to care about the core values, which means you have to live them. And I really pushed hard on that. And it was really confrontational because they weren't really ready to hear it. They were, because it's a different world over there in the Middle East. So, but I'm like, no, you actually have to care. Like, you have to decide. You can't walk both sides. You can't say I want to build a great company and still be a jerk, right?
There's a lot of people saying, a lot of people practicing that though.
or they just don't, or they placate. Like Enron had core values. Enron's core values were in their marketing on their wall, but they didn't live them.
No, that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of people doing that. These are our values, and we stand by them, except that we don't.
The wireless carrier that I've worked with is Sprint. So I've done coaching with Marcelo Claret, who's the CEO of Sprint, and I also coached one of his second in commands. And he cares. Like, he obsesses about core values. He obsesses about the customer. He obsesses about cutting waste and getting rid of the bureaucracy and getting rid of all the private expense accounts. And he runs it like an entrepreneur, but he was an entrepreneur before he went in. And those are the great ones for me to work with, are the companies who are completely aligned from the top to the bottom or from the bottom up. You know, they don't see a difference. They're willing to roll up their sleeves and get dirty.
Yeah, I love that too. So tell us, what do 1-800-GotJunk, Joe Polish, Genius Network, and Dave Asprey's Bulletproof Men, what do they have in common?
Well, I guess me, because what do they have? I was the chief operating officer for 1-800-GotJunk. I am the daily accountability partner for Joe Polish. He and I set our daily goals together, and then I'm a member of his Genius Network, and actually at the annual event this week.
Right.
And then Dave Asprey from Bulletproof Coffee, I coached Dave Asprey as well for a year, so I worked with him on hiring his second in command. What do they have in common as companies?
Yeah.
They really obsess about their culture and their core values, for sure. They all walk the talk. Brian Scudamore lives the brand. Joe Polish lives the brand. Dave Asprey from Bulletproof lives the brand. They really do care about their employees. They really geek out on their industry. Like, they love their business, right? They never turn it off. And then they're building something bigger than themselves. It's not about money. For none of them was it ever about money. Brian doesn't want to sell 1-800-GotJunk. He's doing $300 million in revenue now system-wide with the 4 companies. Bulletproof has just raised a pile of money, hired the former president of Amazon Prime to be his second in command as COO. She's been fantastic. Joe is just like, more businesses, more businesses. He has a group now, a mastermind, that's $100,000 to be in his mastermind group. But it's not about the money. No. It's about relentless pursuit to build and to do something and to make a difference. And they all do that for sure.
Yeah, it's amazing, because each one of them is very much entrepreneurial, even though they're a massive company or becoming massive. They're all, at their sort of nitty gritty level, they're all very much entrepreneurial, right?
Oh, very much so. Even when I built 1-800-GotJunk, I was their COO, their chief operating officer. I took them from 14 employees at the head office. When I left 6.5 years later, we had 3,100 employees system-wide. But one of our mantras was grow big, act small.
Right.
We never wanted to lose that entrepreneurial feel. We never wanted to lose that kind of grassroots bootstrapping. And they still have that today at now 3 times the size when I left 10 years ago. They're still very entrepreneurial. It'll always be in their DNA. Joe will be connecting with all of his core members, having them stay at his house. I had dinner with him last night here in Scottsdale, and he just is completely connected to his people and his brand. Nothing is ever beneath them.
No.
And I think that's where big corporate can go sideways, is when they feel like, oh, that should be someone else's job. Whoa, no. Right. This is, and other duties is on all of our job descriptions.
Right. Yeah. I know, because I've met Joe a couple of times, and the guy, if you don't know who Joe is, you're just talking to a guy. And that's one of the great things about him. He has a presence, and I think that's who he is and the work that he's done on himself. He has a presence, but it's not, I'm better than you,
No.
And I love that about him. And the guys I know who know him very, very well are friends of mine as well, right? So so I know Dan Cushell, I know Kevin, I know Steve Sims. They're all friends of mine,
Yeah.
And they all know, and they're all, they talk about Joe the way they talk about me. We're all having conversations. It's, it's not, and I think that this is one of the things that I think gets missing so often in companies is, now I can't talk to this person. And I've never had that sense with these guys at all.
No, not at all. It's funny you mentioned Steve Sims, another great individual. They just, I don't think they also want to not talk to the front line, because that's why, in a way, they started the company, or they care about them, or I think their model is all flipped upside down. They're there to support.
Yeah.
Joe constantly is introducing people and helping people. And I think when you care about your business that way, or when you care about your employees more than you care about your business, that's going to go through brick walls for you.
Yeah.
Even a lot of the core of the focus of my work is helping companies become best places to work, but truly, like not in their city, but like in their country.
Right.
And I've dozens of companies that rank in the top 5 in their country to work for. It's a pure obsession about your employees.
So you just said something earlier. You said when you think about Brian from 1-800-GotJunk, when you think about Joe from Genius Network, when you think about Dave Asprey from Bulletproof, you said they all obsess about it, right? They're all eat, sleep, live, breathe. I believe the most successful people in the world are obsessed. And that's a bad rap in our world, but I think the truth is we're obsessed about what it is we're obsessed about, and that's what makes us successful. What is your obsession? What are you obsessed about?
I'm obsessed with helping entrepreneurs make their dreams happen. It's the reason I created the concept of the Vivid Vision, and is why I started the COO Alliance. Like I was getting so tired of going to. There's a million groups for entrepreneurs. You got YPO and EO and Vistage and Genius Network and Mastermind Talks and Maverick and GoAbundance and Baby Bathwater and Davos and TED. And you got all these places where entrepreneurs hang out.
Yeah.
But there's places for marketers and engineers and lawyers, but there was never a place for the COO.
Right.
So I wanted to help the COO grow. So we started the COO Alliance to help the entrepreneur, but it's always helping the entrepreneur. At the end of the day, I'm obsessed about helping entrepreneurs. I would do it for free, except my kids have to eat. Right?
And you need a place to stay if you have a flood.
There you go, yeah. But the flip side of that is I think they're also obsessed with other activities besides work. And I think the most successful, the truly successful, maybe, like even the Elon Musks who are obsessed with business still have these outlets of like Burning Man, right? They still have these other obsessions in their life where they disconnect,
right?
Or they connect with people and friends. And I think that's kind of consistent as well. Like Joe is obsessed with health and obsessed with stopping addiction and obsessed with friends. And Dave Asprey completely geeks out on biohacking and, science of the body. And Brian just, family and friends and, all of his hobbies. So,
but all of them seem to have in common the thing around culture that I found interesting. They all have the thing around culture that for me is fascinating. I recently interviewed Claude Silver. I don't know if you know who she is. She's the chief heart officer with VaynerMedia, with Gary's company.
Sure.
And she's awesome. She's amazing. Great interview, great person. But her position, chief heart officer, comes out of Gary's obsession with his culture. And, this is the guy who used to answer every single email, every single response to every single video. Yeah. Okay, now it's so big I can't do that. Who can do that for my people? And this is, it's one of the things you were saying about it not being about money, but being about something bigger.
Yeah, and I think, so I taught Brian culture, and that was because when I came in, there were no employees, and what I recognized was for us to do the growth that we wanted to do from 2 million to 100 million in 5 years, we had to rely on people and PR. Right. So our culture, our business had to be slightly more than a business and slightly less than a religion. It had to be kind of in that zone of a cult. But the way that you do that is by really tuning into them and really understanding people to show them that whatever your company is about is going to help fuel their lives. So you have to understand them. You really have to understand them as people.
It's fascinating. This is where you and I cross over in the work that we do, because in the work that I do, I talk about helping companies and individuals find their sole purpose. But if you don't find your sole purpose as an individual, then your company's sole purpose becomes some manufactured mission statement with a lick of paint, and right. Nobody can bond to that. We can't connect to that.
They need to understand, one of the best stories I always use is the 3 bricklayers that are out on the sidewalk making bricks. And they ask the one guy, what are you doing? He said, I'm making bricks. They say to the second guy, what are you doing? He said, I'm making bricks to build a wall. And they say to the third person, what are you doing? He said, we're building a cathedral to worship God, and I'm building the bricks to make this wall of the cathedral. Like, who do you think is more excited about making bricks?
Exactly.
Well, the guy who knows what the purpose is of what they're building. And that whole idea of a vision statement, like a 1-sentence statement that mashed up some 7 words is supposed to align everybody, it doesn't work.
No.
But no one knew a better way. And in Double Double, and then also in the Miracle Morning for Entrepreneurs, I illustrate this concept of the Vivid Vision, which is a 4-page document that describes the entire company in vivid detail 3 years from today. as if you kind of went into a time machine to December 31st, 3 years from now, and you looked around your company and you describe marketing, you describe IT, you describe engineering and operations, you write down what the media is writing about you and what your employees are saying about you. You describe the company in its finished state, then you bring it back and you show the employees, you go, I don't know how we got there, but this is what it looks like. You guys build the plans and hire the people to make it happen. And that's where they get excited, because they can see that their job is maybe to make one sentence come true or to make a paragraph come true.
Yeah.
And they see where they fit into the bigger picture. But without that, it's just a movie playing in the entrepreneur's mind, and he wonders why nobody can see it. Well, he hasn't shared it.
Exactly. A great example of it was we were working with a company. Actually, they were an international company, they were global, and I had personally been coaching and mentoring the global CEO, and he brought us in to work with the company. So we had 9 CEOs in a room in France, and we're in this lovely chateau in France, and it's all very nice and all very impressive. And he had asked me, he said, how can I do this best? And I said, you be the leader, always go first. But this exercise came up and said, I don't want you to go first, I want you to go last. He goes, okay, we're going to go around the room. What is the mission statement of this company? And the first guy goes, and I look back at this other CEO, and he looks like his head's about to explode. And the next one, and he's just getting worse and worse and worse. And finally we get to him, and of course he says it right and realizes everybody else has said it wrong. And he says, I think we should stop the meeting and go to this. And I said, no. And he goes, why? I said, because it doesn't matter. He goes, of course it matters. I go, no, it doesn't, because if it did, they would know it. It's a mission statement. It's something somebody came up with because it was a cool thing to say. Yeah. Like everybody says, we're all about innovation and customer service. What the hell does that mean?
Well, they didn't know a better way. No one had given them a better system, and I kind of came up with that system and codified it about 12 years ago. And I'm actually doing a TEDx talk around it in 2 weeks, to TEDx Vancouver, and I'll be codifying and rolling out kind of how to actually craft the vivid vision so everyone can see the rest of the story. But it's interesting you mentioned the leader speaking last in that case. I think the leader should speak last in every meeting. Mm-hmm. If you really want to grow your people, give them a chance to say what's on their mind, and more often than not, they're going to have something great anyway. Yeah, but if the leader's always speaking first, they steer the conversation.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. The context of speaking first in his place was anything around vulnerability.
Okay.
Right. So it was, because we were like getting everybody open up, and he always had to go first, because if the leader doesn't do it, then there's no permission.
Right. That I'm okay with. If you're going to create vulnerability, you take the big risk, and then everyone else is comfortable taking a risk as well.
Absolutely. So you talk about vivid vision and you talk about purpose. How do you see those two things as separate, and how do they come together?
So I've got core purpose. If I look at the four, let's say you build a business like a jigsaw puzzle. Right. The front of the box of the jigsaw puzzle is your vivid vision. It's the picture of where you're going.
Yes. 4
corners of your jigsaw puzzle are your core purpose, your core values, your BHAG, which is your big, hairy, audacious goal, and then the system, or the reverse engineering system, the plan to create the vivid vision. Mm-hmm. Core values are the things that you're willing to fight for and die for, and the things you would fire people if they break.
Yes.
That's the big test for me, is you have to be willing to fire them. Maximum 4 or 5 core values for a company, and they have to be short phrases, not single words. The core purpose is why we exist. Why do we exist as a company? And my core purpose is helping entrepreneurs make their dreams happen. Apple's core purpose is to create insanely great products that challenge the status quo and change the human race. So you have to understand, why do we exist as a company? Not what do we do, but why do we do it?
Exactly.
Right? And then the big, hairy, audacious goal is that pursuit that you're after for the next 20 or 30 years, that from the outside world people don't think could happen, but inside you might think is possible. And it often doesn't have anything to do with what you do. Microsoft's from 30 years ago was putting a computer on every desktop, and they didn't even make computers.
No.
Right? Their BHAG was related to, if they made this insanely great software, people would want to have a computer to use their software.
Yeah.
That's when you know you've nailed the BHAG.
Right. So what's your best story of somebody or of a company that have gone from having no clue about this, particularly about having a purpose or having a vivid vision, and have really taken that on?
Yeah, one is a client that I've coached for 4 years now. It's called Blue Grace Logistics. And when I started working with them 4 years ago, they had 60 employees. They've now got around 800. They just raised $255 million from Warburg Pincus, which is a top-tier investment bank. and they're in the logistics and freight shipping business. But their culture is incredible. They've won Best Company to Work For in the state of Florida. They won Entrepreneur of the Year from Ernst & Young for the Southeast region. He's been president of his YPO chapter now. His culture is electric. You walk in the front door and you're like, shit, I don't want to leave. Like, is this Google? It's amazing. But they've put the meeting rhythms in place. They put the vision in place. They redid their core values. It's funny, I was at their company conference last year speaking and addressing about 500 people, and we were rolling out their core values. And I said, core values have to always be short phrases, not single words. And Bobby starts laughing, the CEO, and he goes, well, actually, we have 5 core values, but our 5th core value is simplify. And I'm like, oh my God, that has to be a single word. Like, you couldn't, like, if you want to simplify a phrase, go with the word simplify.
That would be,
the only time I ever let anyone have one single word is because it's so perfect. So they really obsessed about the systems that I gave them in Double Double and teaching people that. They've had every single employee in their company has read the book Meetings Suck, so that they learn how to unsuck their meetings. They've really been great learners to work with, and the results have been huge.
Absolutely, that's very cool. What do you see when you look at these companies around culture? Because you've talked a lot about that, about culture and this moving them towards being best place to work. What is the common thread there that makes that culture really come alive?
Yeah, so it's not what the media talks about. The media talks about the foosball table and the free lunch and the massages.
No.
That's way later. That's like giving all of your children all the toys. Your kids become spoiled brats. What you need first is the kids have to be aligned with the vision of where we're going as a family or where we're going as a company. So it's alignment with the vivid vision. It's alignment with the core purpose. It's people who already live the core values. They're not going to aspire towards them. They already live that way.
Yes.
So you hire people who are like that culture. And then it's putting the systems in place to remove their obstacles, to free up their time. It's getting every employee to read the book Meetings Suck so they don't complain about meetings. It's giving them the training to actually do their job. So you give them training in situational leadership, conflict management, coaching, delegation, email management, time management. You teach them how to actually be leaders and grow their skills, and that propels the company. And then you just get out of their way. And that's where culture starts. You give them a good environment. You get rid of your private offices so everyone goes and sits on the same floor with everybody, with the same laptops and same, Herman Miller chairs. And you get rid of all the stuff from the 1970s, the corner office and the wood and brass. Like, you just bust through that crap.
Yeah.
You make your leadership team bios on your website should read like a Tinder profile, not like a who cares government bureaucrat bullshit nobody reads, right?
Good Tinder profile. Swipe left on Cameron.
True, right? So Kimball Musk worked for me years ago. I was a reference for Elon Musk in his very first round of funding back in 1995 for when they had one employee for Zip2. If you read the profiles in their companies, it actually reads more like a Tinder profile because they're trying to engage you, not trying to turn you away.
Right.
If you have anybody wearing a tie, oh, I'm looking how professional I am. Everyone's going, oh, I wonder who the real person is.
Right.
I know who Dub is. I get some of your culture because I see you and it's real and it's raw and it's perfect, right? Versus the I'm stiff and polished. So culture comes off of being authentic and not talking about being authentic. It comes off of giving people the same space. It comes off of sitting with your employees and around your employees so that you're all a team together.
So let's talk about this part there, because that's really important, Cam. You and I work with different companies, work with different leaders, but at the same time, sometimes I get called in, sometimes it's by the two I see, second in command, who is maybe late 40s, early 50s, has a younger mind, is more about what you're talking about, like let's flatten things out, let's open it all up. But the founder, sometimes it's in a family business, the founder or the present generation or that person at the top there is still in that old school mentality and is doing what I call the Charlton Heston. You'll pry this company from my cold dead hand.
So the cool thing is I don't have to work with people I don't want to work with. So I don't bother. Somebody asked me one time, he said, why does every company you coach turn to gold? And I said, I only touch gold. Like, I'm only going to work with founders who really get it and want to change. You know, I just finished coaching a CEO of a financial services company this morning, and we were talking, and he said, you know, these Gen Y, he goes, they want to get a badge or a ribbon for everything. And I said, great, give them a badge, give them a ribbon. He's like, what are you talking about? I said, it's like the Facts of Life, the TV show. You take the good, you take the bad, and something or other, and there you have the facts of life.
Right.
Like, with Gen Y, you get good and bad.
Of course.
The thing is, they're not loyal for more than 6 months, and they want a badge for everything they do. The good thing is they can leverage technology, and they can hack their way through stuff, and they can work together and problem solve like nobody's business. Take good and bad. Like, so if I have a traditionalist, somebody who is 73 and older, or a baby boomer who's 53 to 73, you just have to understand the way that they work, and you've got to kind of mold it in. But I also am going to show them the opportunities. I'm going to show them the world's changed, man. Like, yeah. IBM banned the tie in 1989. That's 28 years ago. Yeah. They banned the tie. Like, if you're still wearing a tie in your company, you're dead. If you don't believe me, like, that's cool. Like, you know, what happened to Blockbuster? What happened to, you know, Barnes
and I agree with you. However, the challenge that comes back is if you're 70, 71, 72, 75, whatever it is, and you're, you know, and there's a lot of them still pretty feisty and running their companies, their argument, and you know it too, is, listen, we've done it this way for 40 years.
Great.
We're still making X amount, 100 million. We're still doing really great. So you can't tell me that this is wrong.
Correct. So I won't.
Right.
Here's the thing. There's 14 million companies in North America. I don't have to work with that one.
So, but what I was asking you about is, what would you do in a situation where you've got a 2IC who does get it?
I would get the 2IC to either go to a cool company where the CEO gets it. Here's the thing. If the rate of change is outside your business is greater than the rate of change inside your business, you're out of business. These CEOs will at some point start to adapt because they're just going to start seeing it. Really what they're saying is, I'm afraid and I don't know how.
Absolutely.
They're not really saying it doesn't work. They're saying, I don't know another way. So you get them out of the office and over lunch and over a martini, and you sit down with them and you go, I know what you're saying. You're saying you're scared. You're saying you don't know how to use the tools. So like Jimmy Pattison, a billionaire, 85 years old, sits at the tennis club, and he gets this girl and hands her $50 and she teaches him how to use his iPhone and his iPad. You know, like, he's okay with learning the new way, even though he's a billionaire. We have to get them to realize that maybe there is a better way, but the learner controls the environment. Until they're ready to learn, they won't.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I actually love that. That's a good quote. The learner controls the environment. That's very good.
See, all we are is kids trapped in adult bodies. You know, the 75-year-old who's saying, I've always done it this way, he's a 15-year-old trapped in a 75-year-old body. He just doesn't know. So the 15-year-old has to want to learn. Otherwise, they won't learn in math class. They won't learn in science class. So if you got to trick them into wanting to learn, it either has to be out of greed or out of like, I can make you not look as embarrassed, or you just, you know, you try to get them there.
Where do you feel like most leaders are failing today?
Probably in not growing their team, not obsessing about growing their team and putting the money and time to coach and mentor and get their people into masterminds and really growing their skill set of their team. I think if you grow, a leader's job is to grow people.
Right.
Well, that's one. Probably not recognizing that the world is changing at a very, very fast pace, like at an accelerating pace, with artificial intelligence and robotics and you know, VR and the leveraging of technology and apps. And I mean, look, Facebook has only been around for 10 and a half, 11 years.
I know.
We take it for granted,
yep.
Right? Well, there's I think they're not staying on the bleeding edge of technology. You know, I'm a part of 5 mastermind groups. I go to the main TED conference every year. I'm in the Genius Network. I go to mastermind talks. I'm a part of Strategic Coach, and then I go to Baby Bathwater. There's 5 events that I go to keep growing my skill set, because I want to know what's coming before I get hit in the face with it. Yeah, I was talking to an Uber driver the other day, and he was complaining. He's like, Uber takes 30% of our revenue. I'm like, dude, you're out of a job in 3 years. Autonomous vehicles, you don't exist.
Exactly. Don't worry about it, mate. Suck it up while you can, because it's going away. Uber did a great number on cabs, and I'm like, yeah, Uber's already dying.
Yeah. So what's coming behind? What's coming next, right? Car companies. I coach a major guy. I'm not going to say the dealer's name, but a major car company. I'm like, car companies will cease to exist as we know it in 20 years, 15 years, because no one's really going to care what make or model it is. I just want an SUV to show up for the hour, and then tomorrow I want the sports car, and then the next day I want the minivan, and I don't even care.
Yeah, I was working with a group of CEOs in Atlantic Canada last year, 18 of them sitting around, and they're all bitching, moaning about millennials and about all these different things about millennials. And I was teaching them how to get loyalty out of millennials. And I said, let's just put a hard blocker for a moment. And they go, what? And I said, and one of the guys had car dealerships. And I said, you're already out of business. And he's like, what are you talking about? Millennials don't care about owning vehicles. They care about sharing when they need it. That's number one. Number two, as you just said, autonomous vehicles are coming. So, and even GM are getting it. I read recently that GM are now working out how they can have their cars on loan, that they will manufacture for loan.
Brilliant.
Wow, I'm like, now they're thinking.
Because imagine if you're a car dealer, most of the car dealer's revenue comes from service and maintenance.
Absolutely.
My Tesla, there's nothing to maintain. There's
tires and windscreen washer.
Because there's not even brakes. Like, it just doesn't even, like, it's just, yeah, windshield washer fluid.
Exactly.
I thought about that. I should actually check to see if I have any in there. That's it.
Yeah.
So all the service departments are going to be gone in the future. Like, we have to adapt or we die. And if the rate of change outside our business is greater than the rate of change inside our business, we're out of business.
Yeah.
And that means we have to grow people so that they don't get lapped. We have to obsess about our employees so that they care about us. And we have to grow our technology skills and our aptitude. I think it's exciting, but I'll tell you, it's coming faster than we expect.
Oh yeah, way faster than it's ever coming. And it's as you said, it's exciting, it's fascinating, but it's also incredibly threatening. And adaptability, agility is definitely the number one skill to have, and that's hard. There's no doubt about it. We're all hanging on.
My 16-year-old son just got his first job, and he's stocking shelves at a Safeway grocery store. And then I read today that Walmart is starting to get robots to stock shelves. I'm like, wow, my kid's job will be out of, like, he won't have that job in 5 years. Somebody else will be doing those jobs. Not that he'll be stocking shelves in 5 years, but you know what I mean? Like,
one of the fast food companies has just developed a robot that's called Flippy. Guess what it does? It flips burgers. Right? There's an example. So, I mean, so at every possible level, we got to adapt. Now, we're talking about adaptation and shifting and changing, and I know you help so many companies with this, but I want our viewers and our listeners to get that those who are on the edge stay on the edge, meaning that we are always learning. I always say there's no there. Where are you looking to grow? Where are you, what's a place where you're trying to develop? What's a place where you're feeling like you want to grow more?
Yeah, right now, so I'm 52 years old, to put it in perspective on the timeline. I'm trying to understand how to leverage technology at a faster pace and how to work more with remote teams so that I can have people around the world doing work instead of full-time employees in an office. So that's one. I do a lot of what I call R&D, which stands for rip off and duplicate. So I take the best systems.
I don't think that's what it actually stands for, but thanks for the adaptation.
Mine just, like, when I was really young, my dad said, look, there's companies out there that have spent millions of dollars figuring everything out. Just do what the best are doing and just do it faster, because momentum creates momentum. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to see what's happening that I can R&D and put in place.
Right.
So that's one. Is, even the COO Alliance, we're going to put city forums in place so you can actually join the COO Alliance, but you can stay in your city instead of always traveling to Scottsdale 5 times or 3 times a year. So just looking for what's being done, especially on the technology and remote employees, I think is critical for our growth. Yes. It's a very legacy system to have people come to work 9 to 5 and be in an office place when they don't have to. I just want to get the results I need.
Yeah, I mean, when I say to some leaders is, do you care how much time they do put in, or do you care what they produce? And the bottom line is, if you want them to be there from 9 to 5, they can be there and waste 80% of their time, and you can pay them for that, or you can just pay them to get stuff done.
Yeah.
Your call.
we're leveraging free video technology, and I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona, and you're off in another city, and we're doing our video interviews together with free technology. I'm on a laptop. By the way, my laptop is propped up on a case of Fiji water. Who cares? It works.
Exactly. Right. It's pretty cool. Now, I don't know actually if you know this about me, Cam, but I fell off a mountain in 1990 and got smashed to pieces. Did you know that?
No.
So I was free climbing. I already had been speaking for several years, because I've been speaking for 34 years now, coming on 34 years next April. And I was having all kinds of success and was free climbing because I was an adrenaline junkie back in those days, and fell equivalent of 12 stories. And I say that what I believe is that all of us have falls. Mine was literal, so I got smashed to pieces. But some people, it's a bankruptcy, a diagnosis, a divorce, or whatever it might be. And that is often the beginning, so it's not the turning point, but the beginning of a turning point. What was your fall?
I've had three. I'll give you the first two.
Yeah.
October of 2000, I had a friend tap me on the shoulder in an elevator and say, "Are you okay?" And I turned around to say yes, and I collapsed on the floor and started sobbing and shaking and had a complete nervous breakdown. Went to the doctor the following week for a routine physical just because I was getting life insurance because we were buying a home, and doctor said, "What's going on?" I go, "Nothing, everything's good. I'm just getting my routine physical. I've got this weird metallic taste at the back of my neck. It was almost like I was chewing on aluminum foil or tin foil. I had this weird taste or flavor at the back of my neck." He goes, "That's interesting." He goes, "What's going on?" I go, "Not much. My mom's dying with cancer, and we built a company that we sold, but the stock market collapsed, so the $64 million is worth $3 million. I bought a first house. My wife is pregnant. I quit my job. I'm moving from Seattle back to Vancouver. I've gained a little bit of weight. I'm drinking Grand Marnier and Manhattans every night, but everything's really good. Like, everything's pretty good."
No signs there. No signals whatsoever.
We filled out this survey, and if you got, 150 points, you have 50% chance of a heart attack. If you get 250 points, you have 90%. I had 435 points. I was clinically redlining.
Holy crap.
The taste in the back of my neck is a chemical secretion caused by stress to say slow down. So I was written up that October in the Wall Street Journal as one of 4 supernovas whose careers went really high and flamed out with stress. 3 years later, I was written up in the Globe and Mail as someone who turned his life around and had gotten all of it under control again. So I ran my first marathon this past year. And so that was 15 years ago. But that was a big sign for me that working harder was not the way. Smarter was the way. That having balance in my life and having fitness in my life and slowing life down into yoga now and meditation and, drinking water instead. And just that was a big one. The second one was building 1-800-GOT-JUNK. We almost lost the company. We were at about 120 million in revenue. Had gone 6 consecutive years without raising any money. We used all of our cash to grow it, and we needed to get some cash. We went to the bank, and the bank said, "No, you don't have any cash." We're like, "Yeah, but we just spent $5 million on the reno and the office move and bonuses." And they go, "Well, that was stupid. You should have come to us for money." Well, we didn't need you for money. We had all this money. We weren't listening to our head of finance. Oh. And because Brian and I were both drivers and dominant expressives, and we knew what we were doing, so he was very quiet and analytical and amiable, and we never listened to him. And when we heard him, but we know what we're doing. He kept saying, "Slow down, be cautious, be careful." And we're like, no, we're fine. And what I learned from that was that if you're going to hire people to work with you, you have to listen to them. And if you're not willing to listen to them, you shouldn't hire them. So hire really, really smart people and listen to them. Otherwise, what's the point of hiring them in the first place?
Yeah.
We didn't listen to the guy who was in charge of our money until the new person coming in kind of rang the fire alarm and said, "Holy shit, we're out of cash." We had to go borrow money from Brian's mom just to meet payroll.
Wow. And
it was a $400,000 payroll. Or more, that payroll. Like, it was a scary, scary, scary time for the company. I learned to listen.
Tell us how that transformed your leadership philosophy.
Well, I learned to listen more than I talk. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. We should use them in that ratio.
Yeah.
I learned to ask people to show me what they were working on and to explain and and it was okay for me to say, you know what, I don't know what you're talking about. Can you show that to me? I don't understand the financials. Can you explain that to me? I don't understand how a balance sheet works. Can you show me? Instead of saying, because I didn't understand. So instead of saying, no, I'm right, maybe I had no idea what I was talking about in the first place.
Yeah.
So now, like, I don't coach on finance. I coach on culture and operations and execution and meetings and stuff I'm really good at, like world class on people. But I don't understand IT, infrastructure, and finance, so I don't ever talk about that stuff.
Right. That's somebody else's job. I get it. That's fabulous.
That was also a big learning for me, too, was that we can't keep coaching people on stuff they're bad at. That's like getting a kid a tutor when they're bad in French. They'll always be bad in French, and then they'll hate French people. Mm-hmm. Now what you can do is get them a tutor at what they're good at and get the stuff they're bad at off their plate and onto somebody else's plate.
Play to strengths.
Trying to always build these unique ability teams where people are only working on the stuff they're great at and getting everything else off their plate.
Yeah, it's such a massive change is playing to strengths, and I'm all about that. But I think there are things you've got to look at that there's not your strength, that they're just like, you got to be good at that. So, for instance, the people stuff. People go, well, I'm just not good at people. That's not something you can pass off. If you're going to be in business with people, you better learn those skills.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, it doesn't give you permission to be a jerk.
No.
Right? But you can hire people.
Yeah, of course.
If you're good at strategy and analytics, that's fine. But you can't be. It doesn't give you the pass to be a jerk with people.
No. So, what's the most practical piece of advice or guidance or direction that you'd want the leaders who are listening or watching this show to get? What would be the thing that they come off and go, I listened to Cam and I went away and did this? What would it be?
I think I'd give three. One is to craft a vivid vision for your company, to get the 4 or 5 page written document. Again, I described it in chapter 1 of Double Double. I'm not trying to sell books, but that would be the biggest one because it aligns all their employees, all their customers, all their suppliers. Now, get everybody to read meetings sucks. They stop complaining about meetings, but that I'm selling a book. But go buy that for all your employees. The next one is to really obsess about your employees, to truly care about them as humans, that you really care about them as people, their fears, their insecurities, their joys, their passions, what they're struggling with. And if you build that upside down org chart where you're supporting everybody, they'll go through brick walls for you to build your company. Yeah. And the third is not take ourselves so seriously. Like at the end of the day, we're all going to die. And this is just what we do to make money. Like this really doesn't matter. This is whatever your company is, whatever your job is, whatever that big project is, whatever your quarterly goal is, it's all crap at the end of the day because we're going to die. So have fun along the way. Right?
Might be a good idea. It might be a good idea because nobody gets out alive. That is for sure.
It's true. So like you laugh and have a good time. And I can't wait. Like I'm getting ready to go hike up Camelback. And I'm excited about life and having fun and connecting with. I'm still going to work hard, but I'm at least going to have fun along the way.
Yeah, that's awesome. Listen, this has been really great. I'm really glad. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us and share with us. It's been really valuable, and I've really enjoyed it. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Dov. You're welcome. I appreciate it.
Please tell our viewers and our listeners where they can find out more about you, your services, and all the fabulous resources that you have.
Sure. So I've written the 3 books: Meetings Suck, Double Double, and The Miracle Morning for Entrepreneurs. And all of those are available on Amazon, Audible, and iTunes. They can watch videos of my speaking events if they go to CameronHerold.com. They can actually watch my core speaking events and download that at the tools section. And then the COO Alliance is the only network of its kind in the world for the second in command to actually grow these skills so that they can grow their entrepreneur's company.
That's fabulous. And again, we will certainly post that URL for you, CameronHerold.com. We'll make sure that is on the show notes for you so you can get that. So, I really encourage you, as always, dear listener, dear viewer, to make sure that you do go to our guest. I mean, Cameron's taken time out to be here with you to share some real gems for you. Take the time to go to the website, go into the resources. And by the way, I encourage you to go to his website and actually let him know what you got out of today's show, and more importantly, what you are going to do with it. That's always valuable. So when I tell you go on iTunes and rate, review, and subscribe to the show, you can actually put in there what you got out of this show so Cameron knows too. That would be awesome. We really appreciate that. So again, let's thank our fabulous guest, Cameron Herold. Thank you, sir.
Thank
It's
you,
been
Doug.
great having you here. And to you, dear listener, remember the research consistently shows that one of the biggest challenges facing even the most successful companies is somewhat counterintuitive, that these fast-growing companies often hit a point where they realize they're spending a fortune attracting, training, and developing talent, but they are leaving them at an equally alarming high rate. So if you're sick of investing in training and developing your talent only to have them leave you before you've got your ROI, then come talk to us at fullmontyleadership.com. We provide the essential leadership skills to rekindle and amplify the hidden loyalty assets of your organization by tapping into your core purpose. fullmontyleadership.com, providing you with the concrete soft skills to get your organization to the top and keep you there. Why? Because you can't outsource authenticity. Remember to stop by the Matrix or matrix.fullmontyleadership.com and get your self-assessment tool for assessing your authentic leadership. Matrix.fullmontyleadership, valued at $197, absolutely free to you. Get yourself over there. Again, thank you for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure and honor. Stay curious, my friend. Stay curious about how to create, go look it up, how to create a vivid vision of your organization and obsess. Become curious about how you can obsess even more about your people. Till next time, this is Dov Baron, connecting you to your deep greatness. And I'm out.